I Can't Excel asks on the Excel subreddit, pivot table created on not filtering dates. A bit of a strange title, but what this person is referring to is that when you create a pivot table and you have a field that contains a date, usually Excel will automatically create groups for months, quarters, and years. But now this person is doing that and it's not getting these automatic groups. And so I Can't Excel is wondering what's going on. Of course, the most obvious answer here is that the field does not contain date values. So that's definitely something you need to check. Now, in our response, we will assume that the data does actually contain date values, and I'll show you how to manually create these groups. Now, let's create some dummy data to reconstruct this. So we have a date column and then a value column. For the dates, we will create a sequence of 365 rows, just like that. Now we will select all of them and convert them into dates. We'll pick short dates like this. Like you know, in Excel, dates are nothing more than a number, namely the number of days that have passed since the 1st of January 1900. So that's why 1 equals the 1st of January 1900. Then we'll also create some random values with a rand between function. We simply give a bottom value and a top value, and a random number between these two values will be generated. I double click to extend this across the entire selection. Then I will copy this and then paste this as values so that the values no longer change. Now I press Ctrl A to select the entire data set. I scroll up, I go to the Insert tab, and I click on Pivot Table, and so we will insert a pivot table in the existing sheet over here. Okay, so there we have our pivot table. And so we have two fields, the date and the value field, so let's select both of them. And as you can see, the moment that I select my date field, I automatically get these groupings based on months and days. Now I will remove these by clicking on the drop down and clicking on Remove Field and Remove Field. Now they're still over here, of course. Now how do I get rid of them over there? Well, I simply need to ungroup. So I click on Ungroup. And now you can see that the automatic groupings actually are gone. So now how do we get the groups back? Well, simply we stand in a cell containing whatever we want to group on. In this case, it's the date. So we click on whatever date we want. Then we go to the Pivot Table Analyze tab in our Excel ribbon. And there we have a group called Group. So we click on Group Field. Now Excel will automatically recognize that we are selecting a date value. And so we can do grouping based on these dates attributes such as months, quarters, years, etc. So let's pick months and quarters. Of course, it has automatically recognized that we started the 1st of January 1900 and end in December. So now I click on OK. And you can see those groups have actually reappeared and are now also visible in my rows. So if those groups don't automatically show, with date fields, you can make them appear through the group field option. Of course, this will only work if your field actually contains date values. So that's something you want to check first. Now, like I mentioned earlier, a date in Excel is nothing more than a number, and the number indicates a number of days since the 1st of January 1900. So in order to check if you have actually dates, well, you can simply check if your date column actually contains numbers. So how you could do this is with a function called isNumber. I then provide the date column, I close it, and you can see I will get a true back to indicate that this is actually a date. So by simply pulling down this formula, you can very quickly spot if one date value does not contain a date.